Welcome to Fancounters. My name's Nick.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And you can find us all over the internet. And we hope you do, because if you're listening to us right now, go to that platform that you're listening to us and give us a 5-star review. We'd greatly appreciate that.
Yes, please.
If you do want to find us on Twitter, we're at Fancounters Live. You can also email us at
hello@fancounters.com.
Okay, now, Elizabeth, I talked to you several shows ago about the fact that I get an email with my mail.
Yes.
You know, they scan my mail.
I think it's freaky.
Everything that's going to be in my mailbox.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hit a snag with that this week.
Okay.
Well, the problem now is these emails are not coming to me until 5:15 p.m.
After you've gotten the mail?
My mail comes at 10 a.m.
Okay.
So it's not very helpful. The only thing it's helpful for is to actually find out if I missed something that was supposed to be in my mail, which I never do.
Okay.
But
that's information you can go through life without. Honest, you can.
I'm finding that out since I don't get the email till much later.
What, do we know why it now comes late?
No.
Okay.
No, not a clue. The other thing, I have a couple topics to discuss. Seriously funny thing, and I know that it's going to be really embarrassing for her later, so I'm sorry. My wife and I have a TV and a couch in our room, so it's like a separate living area because we only have one living room. So we often go in there at night to watch TV and stuff. So it's like 10:30 at night. We're watching a show. And every time I hear one of my daughter's doors open, I always pause the TV because I don't want to like startle them with random voices and stuff. So Madison slowly sleepwalks into our room. She looks at us, doesn't say a thing. She's obviously like mostly sleepwalking.
Sound asleep, yes.
She gets on the toilet. We hear a little poof, in the toilet and all that. And I'm just like laughing. It's kind of like having a little drunk man walking through the house, using your bathroom, not saying anything, farting everywhere.
And then she just leaves?
Yeah, she just left. She didn't say a word.
You didn't get up and follow her?
No.
Oh, my God. I'd have been right behind.
Why?
If it was Lily. Well, because I need to know that you actually went to bed.
No, because I can hear it. The door shuts, and then you hear the footsteps of her going into her bed. So I hear all that.
Okay, I don't know, man. That's crazy. But the good news is even though she was asleep, she did get up to go to the bathroom.
Oh, sure.
So that was,
always.
Kudos
always.
for that, man.
Yeah, that girl actually has never had an accident, was out of diapers very fast. Like, she just wanted to do it all right away, and she did. Never went back.
Nice.
All right, last thing I want to talk about. I don't know if the people who are making these movies have any idea why they're making them or who they're making them for. And this is all because they are now making a Dora the Explorer movie. It's a live-action movie with a real girl playing Dora.
What the what?
Here's the problem with the movie. She is going to a normal high school. She is the Dora character that you see on Nickelodeon. So she's very, unaware of common sense and things like that. And so she brings all these knives and stuff to school. And one of the lines in the trailer is, "Oh, of course Dora would bring a knife on a field trip. Ha 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 ha." It's like, what?
Oh my gosh.
So Dora ends up getting kidnapped on a school field trip to some museum because her parents are digging out all these relics and stuff. And the people want to steal them. And they kidnap the daughter and the friends from the field trip. And there's people getting shot, I believe. And they're using knives and things. So I don't know who this movie's for. Because as far as I'm concerned, Dora's for 1-year-olds through maybe 4.5 years old.
Well, there were 2 different Doras out.
Oh, no, I get that.
There was the young Dora, and then there was an older...
Yeah, but Dora in the city.
Yeah,
Dora. This is clearly Dora coming to the city to go to school, but she's not wearing the hip Dora clothes from Dora and Friends. She's in the purple shirt and the pink shorts.
From Dora the Explorer. Yeah, I don't get that at all because you're right. Probably my 10-year-old wants to see that. I mean,
really?
Yeah, I
she's
would think
out of Dora, though.
Oh, a long time she's out of Dora. A long, long time ago. But I think some of my kids run into that weird nostalgia kind of thing. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when we get ready for our big giant sale next month, I start cleaning out the rooms and taking away toys. And I can take away a toy that they have not played with in 4 or 5 years, and it is their new favorite toy for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Huh.
And then I can slowly pull it back away and sell it. But I would think that just out of curiosity, she would want to.
Okay.
Now I don't.
Well, then that answers my question a little bit.
But I don't. But you're right. I'm not super excited about the knives and the guns and things like that. But I would have to see it.
There may or may not have been a gun. I'll have to go back and look at the trailer. But it seems to me that these people are kidnapping her with some sort of weapon, and I thought I saw.
Well, and I think it
guns.
runs along the same vein as soon as you make Aladdin and Dumbo and all these things live action, and they're no longer a cartoon, you have to make some of those exceptions. When we saw Dumbo, there were quite a few things that even as my 10-year-old was kind of like, well, that was scary.
What was scary in Dumbo? I saw it. It was fabulous.
The Nightmare Island. We understood they were fake.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily sure as a 10-year-old she processed that information because somebody asked her after that, what did you think of Dumbo? And she said, I liked it. And Oliver's answer to me was, it's my favorite new Disney. And then the woman asked whether or not she could take a 4- and 5-year-old to see it. And I said, well, there are some sad things and there are some scary things. And Lily was the first one to say there's no drunk elephant in this one.
Right. Yes.
And and she said, but there is a scary island where it looks like they're being mean to the mommy.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, there are some, obviously the whole fact that the mean man that Mrs. Jumbo kills is violent.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's, we saw that, and there's some pretty violent things in that. Was once a cartoon.
I think you watch things differently when you're with your kids, because I saw it with my father-in-law on our Tuesday night 10 p.m. movie adventures and didn't think anything of it. Like, looking back, I'm like, yeah, I guess everything was fine because I wasn't watching it thinking, oh my God, my kid is sitting right here. What are they thinking?
Exactly.
You watch movies differently.
We watched it on a Tuesday with a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. Yeah.
Now, since we're talking about movies, I have to give kudos to the brand new movie that you will not see. Pet Sematary was amazing. So much better than the original. Based on the Stephen King book. It was fabulous. Yeah. I loved it. I know. You're looking at me like I'm nuts.
Never going to see it.
It was really good.
Don't even want to talk about it.
I have contacted some of the people in that movie to see if we can get them on the show because I just want to talk about this movie so much.
Okay.
It was great.
I have no response for that.
Okay. Did you see Hotel Mumbai?
No.
Oh, my gosh. You have to see that one.
Yeah, I'm a little bit out of the loop. At our house, we ran through influenza A and then 2 rounds of strep throat. So I have missed
you've been
quite
out of it for a few
weeks of movies, and I am quite behind. And when we did get to go to the movies, it was Dumbo and How to Train Your Dragon 3.
I will not see that. Hotel Mumbai is amazing, and I know it's probably almost out of theaters, but you really need to make an effort to see this movie. You are on the edge of your seat the whole entire time. It's very scary because it's about a terrorist attack at a hotel with gunmen and all this stuff.
Yeah, not going to see it.
Oh, it was...
No, not going to see it.
Simply breathtaking.
Happy, sappy, comedy, those things I will see. Mm. I'm waiting for Breakthrough to come out, which should be out any day now.
That movie, really?
I am. I like those ones.
I love Chrissy Metz, but you just know what's going to happen at that movie.
Of course you do.
He's going to be fine, guys. He's going to be fine.
It's the roller coaster you go on that's worth the journey.
Got it. We're pulling back the curtain this week, and next week we are not going to be talking to actors. We're going to be talking to the people who make the movies, who bring them to life. We're talking about the executive producers of the shows and movies that you go and see. And today on the show, we have Charlotte Larsen, who's going to join us. And Elizabeth, I have to tell you, one of the best things I think about doing Fancounters is getting to interview industry stars of all sizes. We've had athletes, music artists who are on tour, Broadway stars, actors who are in front of the camera, and now, like I said, for the next couple weeks, we're going to go behind the camera to talk to the people that bring projects together. Today, we're going to be joined by New Zealand-born but UK-raised Charlotte Larsen, who is best known for executive producing the hit New Zealand TV series Auckward Love, as well as hit films like Gloria and Great Expectations.
Charlotte has uprooted her life and moved to LA to enable her to bring films to life with a meaningful message as both a producer and an actress. Her upcoming projects include the Australian sitcom Legends, detective web series Square Brains, and a documentary called We Need to Talk About AI.
All right, let's get this show going.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters with Nick and Elizabeth on the PodFix network.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
If I'm having dinner with my wife, don't sit down at my table. Don't follow me into the bathroom.
Can I take a picture? Oh, my God.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
I'm the only one that's ever been on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
Well, guess what? I have a big surprise for you.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
Charlotte, welcome to Fancounters. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, we shared a little bit about your history in the opening, but when meeting someone for the first time, what are some things about yourself that you want everyone to know?
I guess that I'm a hard worker, and I might be small and innocent looking, but I'm a go-getter, and I can be pretty feisty when I want to be.
Now, you were born in New Zealand, but you moved to the United Kingdom when you were just 6 years old. That's kind of a big move. Was that because of your parents' career, or why such a large move?
I actually spent the 3 years living in Virginia when I moved there when I was 4 from New Zealand, and my father was a student at Georgetown. And when his student visa expired, we were looking for somewhere to go, and he was doing business in the UK, and so the family decided to move over there.
Oh, so you did, so just following along. We started in New Zealand, we went to Virginia, we went back to the UK, and now we're going to LA.
I went back to New Zealand after high school to go to college and start my business and all that stuff, and then I moved back to LA. I moved to LA about 8 years ago now.
Okay. So are there any, that's a lot of like cultural differences from the UK and the United States and then Britain. So tell us, what do you remember when you were a kid about having to make those transitions? And obviously that's a pretty influential time in your life when you're 6, 7, and 8 and doing all that sort of stuff. So are your memories good or bad regarding all the relocating?
I mean, I was very young, so, it's hard to remember a lot of things, but it was mostly good. When I moved to the UK, I remember I didn't want to leave America. I also had a lot of friends and things like that going on. And, 6 years old, you're kind of like, why am I leaving? But everything turned out great. I did most of my schooling in the UK through high school. And that was great too. My mom still lives there. She's still there, and 30 years later. And it's been pretty great.
Do you have brothers and sisters that were taking these moves with you?
No, I'm an only child, so
Okay.
I got all the luck.
Okay.
All the love and all the luck. So
Yes.
So Charlotte, you decided to leave the UK to return to New Zealand for college. I'm assuming at that point, is that when your mom and family moved back as well, or what made you want to return to New Zealand?
As I said, my mom's still in the UK. She's still in the house that we moved to all those years ago. And I decided to go back because I never really experienced living in New Zealand. The rest of my family were there, and I really wanted to go back and live in, where I was from. And we'd always go back for summer vacations. We'd always spend in New Zealand with family. So I always wanted to move back there and, experience what that was like.
So it still held a lot of fond memories for you.
Yeah.
In college, you majored in film and theater. When did you first realize that you were interested in pursuing this, and how did you know that you wanted to be in this sort of career?
Well, I did drama at school, sort of 10 years old. Around then, I was in my first school play. And actually, that was kind of not a great moment for me because I was so annoyed. I wanted to be this other role, and they cast me in this role because I was small and I was the smallest in the class, and they were like, "Oh, you can be this one," and I'm like, "No, I want to be that one." So that was my, my first experience of acting in the real world, I guess, because that happens. But I did drama at school and loved it, and then went to college to do film and theater, and fell into it naturally after that.
So after studying film and theater in your hometown of Wellington, you started a production company called Random Films. Tell us about the early days of putting that company together, and what did that really consist of?
Well, I mean, my degree was film and theater, so I really had no idea about business or like running a company or even a production company. I kind of just fell into it with a couple of friends. We just kind of went, all right, well, let's see how this goes. Let's figure this out as we go. A friend of mine that I was working with, that worked with me, she was a business manager. She had a business degree. So she kind of guided me through that side of things. But everything else kind of was taking meetings with people to get advice, talking to filmmakers, business people, family members who could help me. So it was kind of a trial and error situation, and diving headfirst in, going, all right, let's see what happens. And if we're lucky, this will be great. And if not, then we've had a great experience.
For sure. Now, were you buying equipment and lighting and cameras and all that, or did you have a studio? What was your setup like?
Yeah, we had a small office in town, and we had some equipment. We had, editing suites and some cameras and things like that. It was really for me to be able to find projects that I could work on. And so I actually wanted to do acting, but then, of course, trying to find the projects and the work to make it happen, I ended up producing. So that's kind of how I fell into that. And so, yeah, having to provide these services is kind of led me to where I am right now.
Yeah, many people on the starting end of an acting career say that if you can't find the roles you want, you have to create the projects yourself. And I think you probably found a little bit like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at some point, you changed the name of your group from Random Films to Random Group when you started working with other companies in collaboration. Was this done because you just found it easier to work with others than to do everything by yourself, or what was the reason for the merger and the name change?
Well, I started working with my current CEO and business partner, Mark, and he had a company that was performing arts and touring and event management, that kind of thing. And we kind of cross-collaborated. He was bringing in projects through his company, and I was bringing projects through my company. So we just found that it was a natural fit for us to not merge them together, but to kind of umbrella them under one group so that people had one place to go to for everything that they needed. And, for example, if he had a project that required video installation through his company, then my company could provide the video installation for that, and then we worked together across the companies.
Okay.
So how do you make sure all of the people or the companies that you're collaborating with want the same thing or have the same agenda about a project? Is that a concern for you when you start out with somebody new?
Well, the companies are fairly, the two companies under the Random Group are established. That's between Mark and myself. If someone comes to us with a project, we're looking for a good script, and we're also looking at the people who are involved. So being in New Zealand, it's a very small country and a very small industry, so we kind of know who's who before we start working with them. So that's a bonus, and sometimes not a bonus, but it's everyone's really supportive, and so we can figure out what that project's going to look like just really from knowing who's involved, their reputation, and what the project is.
I can guess that at the creation of Random Films, you probably thought you were going to get to direct and star in the films that you did right out of the gate. But we've spoken to a lot of directors and producers and things like that says it's much more complicated than that. And getting a film off the ground takes a long time. What were some of your initial challenges that you experienced as you got the company going off the ground?
Well, finding the right projects was tough to begin with because we were a new company. We didn't have a portfolio of work behind us. We were just, fresh out of college. And so it was hard for people to go, well, why should we trust you? Why should we work with you? What can you bring us? And so trying to build that took a little while. So I think that was probably one of the main challenges that we faced at the beginning.
I have made several feature films. We've got a couple right now we're trying to get off the ground. Would you agree that being persistent and also being patient is, makes waiting kind of the hardest part of any project, because you do just want to get going, but everything's got to be in place. So,
yeah, absolutely. I'm an impatient person. I'm like, I want everything now. Like, go, go, go. And so that's one of the things I've learned as well, is to be patient, let go of control. You know, I had a project, one of my films took 10 years to get from script to screen.
Wow.
So that we had a lot of challenges, and, you know, you kind of go, well, let's keep going because, you know, the end is in sight, but, you know, how long do you wait? So, yeah, that project took 10 years, but I've also had projects that took, you know, 1 or 2 years or 6 months to kind of come together, which is great. But even then, you're going, well, this is still taking longer than I'd like. So you've kind of got to just go with the flow.
Which was the one that took 10 years?
That would be Gloria.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
So
yeah,
we've heard from a lot of people that finding the money is the hardest part of filmmaking. And you're helping others through an emerging artist trust. So tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, so through my film company and through my experience and my connections in the theater world, I was producing things that require money. Obviously, that's you know, part of the thing that you need to make things happen. So just from my experience there, I came to the conclusion that there were people that needed a way to find money to, especially when you're starting out, to make a small project or make a small show, a low budget show at a play at a theater.
Okay.
So I kind of just went, okay, well, how can we make this a formal thing? I was kind of helping out a few friends with their productions, and I'm like, well, there are other people who are outside of my group of friends and my network and my industry peers that might not have an in. So I set this up formally as a charitable trust to help artists who were just starting out in film and theater. Originally, we've now crossed into visual arts as well. And it just started with a small grants program, you know, a few $100s to help you get your short film made or to do your marketing for your play at the theater. And so that kind of formalized that process. And we now also do mentoring. So we pair the emerging artist with someone who's already established, and we give them a certain number of hours to connect with their mentor and grow what it is they want to do, whether it's working the camera or being a production manager or marketing a show. They get that experience as well.
Now, are you giving these grants worldwide, just Los Angeles, just New Zealand? Where have you sponsored people?
At the moment, it's just Wellington, but you know, one day we'd hope to go fully across New Zealand, and then, you know, let's take over the world. Let's see what happens.
Okay. So let's talk about some of your work. I'm curious to learn about the project that you have in post-production right now called We Need to Talk About AI. What can you tell us about this upcoming release?
Well, my production company, we've worked with these producers before on a few other projects. They're a great team. And we do mostly behind-the-scenes work with these guys. So a lot of the work is interviews, you know, behind-the-scenes footage, that kind of thing. So we work with them to put that all together and put together the behind-the-scenes packages and EPK for distribution, trailers, that kind of thing. We do all that for those guys.
So what is this release about exactly? It's a documentary, correct, about artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
Are we talking about like robots on factory lines, or what exactly is the topic? Can you tell us? Or
I can't say anything too much right now, but it's going to be a great production. The people behind it know what they're doing, and they've had some success with other documentaries. So I'm confident that I'll be out soon, and then you'll be able to find out all about it.
Okay. Now, you've served as executive producer on countless projects. Auckward Love, a New Zealand show, a film that I loved, Great Expectations, although it's been a little while since I've seen it, but I do remember enjoying that one. Most recently, you've got Born Racer and Beyond the Known World. So kind of give us an overview of what your role has been as an executive producer to bring these projects to life.
Those are all New Zealand-based projects. So in that scenario, Mark, my CEO, he is approached, or I am approached, but Mark is the one that I refer people to. He gets the script, he gets the project, and we go over the script, we decide whether we like the story, and with Born Racer, we'd worked with the producers before, and they came to us and they said, we want to work with you. We love you. We want to work with you again. So we kind of went, okay, this is a no-brainer because it was great last time. The subject matter was great, and we just have a lot of fun working with these guys. That was a documentary as well, and so that was something that we'd had experience with them. So that was great. You get to travel and interview people and do all that kind of stuff. With Beyond the Known World, the script, that's not a documentary, that's a scripted feature film. The script was really great. The premise was really great. We knew some of the people involved, so we were really excited about that. And also being a New Zealand and India co-production, that was something that was really exciting for us. So we kind of just get the script, we get the project, and then we discuss whether we want to get involved or not, based on script, people, and what we think the production process will be like.
Now, while they're putting it all together, are you along the lines more of just like watching the budget, watching their spending, that kind of thing? Or are you actually watching dailies and checking out the footage and giving comments that way?
I'm kind of where I go wherever I needed kind of thing. So with Born Racer, I was a lot less hands-on than I was with Beyond the Known World, because I guess there is a lot less script involved. But with Beyond the Known World, I read scripts, we had discussions with financing, that kind of thing. And luckily in New Zealand, we have a film commission, so we have to kind of follow their rules to quite an extent. But my involvement is anything that I'm needed to do, budget-wise, script-wise, production-wise, providing the production services, that kind of thing. I go where I'm needed.
Well, I can imagine that it's hard to go from doing everything yourself to delegating and trusting others to do these various tasks. How do you know, or how do you handle delegating? Because I'm like a perfectionist, and if my company name is on the line, I really want to be like everywhere, but I can't be. And it's really difficult to delegate some things. So tell me how you handle that in overseeing a film project that has so many moving parts.
Yeah, that's, again, something that I've had to learn along with my patients, is that I can't control everything. So delegating, you've really got to be able to trust the people that you're working with. Having worked with Mark for several years, I can trust him to do what he needs to do. And, as I said, like the Born Racer and AI production team, we've worked with them many times before. They've got a great reputation, so we can trust them to do their job as well. New people, it's, you still have to kind of, I guess,
prove themselves,
earn their trust.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they have to prove themselves, and I have to prove myself to them as well. But, as I said, New Zealand's a very small industry. You know who people are before they come to you, mostly. Okay. So that's a bonus. You can kind of go, okay, well, they've done this before, they've done that before, this person knows them. So you get a feel of how they work. And so everyone's really behind each other as well, because everybody wants to make a great project. They don't, their name's on the line as well. So you kind of just have to trust everybody, learn to let go of control, and just know that everything will be okay. And if it's not, you can get over it. So that's something I've had to learn to deal with.
Okay.
No matter how planned you have a shoot to be, down to the very minute details, some problems are always going to come up every now and then. Can you remember any of the more unique issues that you've had to solve on any of your productions? Legal issues are always in the way. It's happened on several productions. There's always, you can't actually do that. That's not legal, or you need this to make that happen. There's always the budget. People want to spend more money than there is. So that's, in real life, too.
But we just need $5,000 more to make this. And there's not $5,000 more around. So, figure that out. Every project has its own set of challenges. So it can be anything from someone not showing up to set and they're crucial, or just going, we lost that location today, we have to move location, which means that we don't need those actors, but we need those actors instead. So, every project is different, and every project has something that's going to throw you for a loop.
What project have you worked on that you would think is your most memorable?
I would have to say Gloria, mostly because it was shot in Mexico, which was great, even though I speak zero Spanish. So that was a challenge. And it was just really a really different experience. We were shooting in a jail in Veracruz for several days. So that was...
Was it an open jail? Like actively running?
No. So
okay.
It was actually an empty jail, disused. And but you could still see, it was very recently closed down. But yeah, the conditions, you're like, wow. And, this is how the Mexican jail system works. So it was, like being in a jail cell where there are still beds in there and the showers are still running water and that kind of stuff was very, very interesting. The conditions there and just being able to experience Mexican culture as well, because that's not something that I'm completely familiar with. But being able to like immerse myself in 3 days in Veracruz or, several days in Mexico City, and not being able to speak the language as well as I should. That was probably one of my most interesting experiences on a production.
Was that a safe experience overall, or were there security challenges that you ever worried about?
No, I think because the crew were Mexican, everyone was from Mexico. They were a Mexican production team. They were all local, so they knew obviously the language, but they also knew where things were, how things ran. They had the experience, so I was able to trust trust them to be able to make things happen and make sure it happened safely and safely.
Okay. Now, as you know, the entertainment industry is described as a grind. Just like we're always looking to find our next guest, people in the industry are always looking to find their next project. So with that in mind, do you ever feel like you might be losing your sense of wonder or love of simply creating because of how much stuff stands in your way of bringing projects to life?
Absolutely not. No, it's
okay.
there is so much going on. There's always challenges. There's always problems. But I think first, that's part of what I love about it is that I love analyzing, problem solving, sitting down in front of a computer and going, how do I make this work? So that's really fun and challenging for me. I think sometimes, you go, well, there's a lot of things in the way. Is it worth it? You have those moments, but once you get over those moments and you have the finished product, you go, that was great. And I'm so proud of what I've done. I'm ready to work on the next one and make something better than what I just did. So I don't think there's anything that's kind of holding me back or making me want to give up or anything like that. I think it pushes me further and motivates me even more to make things happen.
So as a producer, what do you consider money well spent and what do you consider that isn't?
Well, I think any project that is completed, whether it makes box office, whether 5 people see it or 5 million people see it, I think that's money well spent because you've completed something and it might have cost a lot of money, but you've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. You've put a lot of love into it, and I think money well spent is really just something that you've completed that you can show to the world. Whether it's 5 people or 5 million people, it's worth every penny.
Okay.
So if you've got a release that obviously some have exceeded your expectations, you might have had some that didn't. You mentioned if they don't do well at the box office and that kind of thing. So if you have the latter part where they don't succeed as much as you thought they would, how do you pick yourself up and, carry on to the next project without dwelling on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had that happen a couple of times. A few things have gone not as well as we'd hoped, and you kind of go, okay, well, that's disappointing. We tried really hard. For whatever reason, it didn't go as great as we wanted. You kind of just have to go, that project's done. Let's move on to the next one and focus on that so that you're not going, well, we still have to make this one better. Or, doing that kind of dwelling on that doesn't really help. So moving forward, finding the next project, you don't have time to think and focus on things you've already done. So looking at other projects and making those happen just kind of gets you over whatever's happened before.
So, Charlotte, the name of our podcast is Fancounters, and we like to ask our guests about encounters that they've had with fans. Now, obviously, you're kind of behind the scenes, and so you don't have as much facial or name recognition as if you were on the screen. But I have to believe in a community the size of New Zealand that, I mean, people still know who you are. Have you had any encounters with fans that you can think of that were memorable?
I haven't really had sort of walking down the street moments where, you know, people are like, oh my God, it's you. But here in LA, I've done a few plays and things like that, and people are like, oh, I saw you in that play, and I'm like, oh, great, thank you. You know, they came to see the show or and said, you know, you were great or whatever. So, you know, that's always nice when it's kind of people who have come to see plays, because that doesn't even happen in LA. No one goes out to the theater. But yeah, I haven't really had any like fan encounters as such. I've been with other people who have fans, so I've experienced it that way. And that's a little disconcerting too, because you're like, wait, who are you? What do you want? So, yeah. But yeah, I've had people come up to me and say, you know, you did great in that, or I saw you in this. So that's nice. That's always, good to know that you're doing good work.
Okay.
And turning the tables a little bit, you've obviously worked with many actors in lots of capacities. Have you ever found yourself to be in a situation where you've been starstruck around someone?
I guess I've been around for quite a while now that I don't, because I've always just thought of actors and producers and other people like that where, you know, they're my colleagues more than people that I'm not, you know, I don't have a connection with. So anyone, you know, I've seen people, you know, here in LA, I've seen people, you know, at the gym and at Sephora or whatever, and you know, I kind of go, oh, okay, well, you know, oh wow, they're here. But yeah, I don't really get starstruck, but yeah, I have some friends who, you know, I say, oh, I met this person, and they're like, oh my goodness, that's so cool, you know, I'm so jealous, and I'm like, no, well, they're just people, you know. I try to respect them as people and as people that I work with as well.
So the next one's a two-parter. And so this question is, what is the best advice you've ever been given, and what's the best piece of advice that you have to offer?
The best piece of advice I've been given is probably slow down, take your time, especially the beginning. You know, as I said, I'm impatient and I want things to happen, and I have to let go of control. So that was something that I was told was slow down. Yeah, just kind of take it slow, and you know, that'll get you there in the end. The best advice I could give someone is probably don't rely on caffeine to get you through. That can sometimes just make things worse. But also, I guess, do one thing at a time. Try not to do everything at once. You know, people want to act, direct, produce, write, do all this. They want 10 projects at once. And I think from my experience and going through my career path, my advice is probably one thing at a time. You know, start with writing, then start with producing, you know, then move on to producing once you've perfected writing. Do one thing well, and then move on to the next thing and do that well. So that's probably my best advice.
Okay.
At the beginning of our show today, Elizabeth and I were kind of talking about some of the new movie releases that have just come out and kind of giving some thoughts on them. Have you seen a movie recently that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, I actually saw Gloria Bell last week, and I thought that was really great. It's not getting as much press as, you know, there's a lot of, you know, comic book things going on right now in the world, which is great. But yeah, Gloria Bell was just something that I really loved. I loved the acting and just her story and her way of dealing with her boyfriend and her family and all those things. I just thought that they all did such a fantastic job in that movie.
Yeah, it's on my list. I just haven't quite made it there yet.
Yeah, and the soundtrack is great too.
As far as television goes, if we were to check your DVR right now, what are some of the current shows you're watching or streaming?
I'm a little bit of a Jeopardy fanatic, so that's always on there. But right now, political legal dramas, I'm watching things like For the People, Proven Innocent, most of the new dramas like Manifest and New Amsterdam, things like that. But also a lot of comedy. So I have The Goldbergs, and I have Speechless and Modern Family, all those great shows. So I have a lot to get through this week on my DVR.
I tape all of those. I love them all.
Yeah.
All those ABC shows.
Yeah, it's such great TV right now.
Yeah, lots of great sitcoms.
Yeah.
Charlotte, if someone wanted to get on your good side pretty much right away from the first time meeting you, what snack should they bring you?
You know, I don't snack too much, but I do love a good dessert. So if you bring me a tiramisu or some kind of like chocolate cream pie or something like that, I will probably look favorably towards that.
I am right there with you.
Yeah.
Are you able to tell us what you're currently working on?
Yeah. So last year I shot a pilot in Australia. The show's called Legends. It's a 1980s set sitcom in Australia. So we shot the pilot for that, and now we're looking to get that to series. Written by a great writer that I've worked with before called Stan Harrington. And we have some great cast in that too, a lot of known Australian actors and a couple of known American actors as well. So we're looking forward to get that to series sometime soon.
What age group are you focusing on in this 1980s sitcom Legends?
Well, I think anyone who's kind of lived through the 80s. I was born at the beginning of the 80s.
The stars in the show, are we in our 20s? Are we in our 30s? What is the age of the characters?
Well, the show starts, the characters are in high school in the 80s, but it also is partly present day. The actors have grown up and they're looking back at their time during those high school years. So present day, 80s, anything in between. So I would say anyone sort of like 20s onwards would really enjoy this show.
Okay.
Excellent. So, Charlotte, where would you like your career to be even a year or two from now? Where would you like to project yourself?
I would love to be acting and producing in a great film that people can really enjoy, people can think about, something that makes them think, something that makes them go, hey, yeah, no, I understand that. That's what my life is like, or that's what I can relate to. So I'd love to be able to do that in a film that that a lot of people get to see, and I'd like to be able to show as many people as possible great films. Are you a writer as well? I'm not. I have good story ideas, but I don't have that patience to sit down and write and do all that technical stuff. So I leave that to the people who know how to do that better than I do. Okay, fair enough.
So where can we follow your journey on social media?
So I have a Facebook page. It's Charlotte Larsen. There'll be a picture of me, obviously. But also my Twitter, I have one of those. It's official, CHARLAR, Charlar. Charlotte Larsen was too long to fit on the username. So it's official Charlar on Twitter.
Excellent.
Okay.
And is there anything that we didn't touch on that you'd like to mention?
No, I think that's everything. You've pretty much covered a lot of what I do. So you guys have been great.
Well, your insight has been awesome as well. So we do appreciate you taking time to join us on Fancounters this week. And we're looking forward to following you in the future. Our thanks to Charlotte Larsen for joining us on the show this week, giving us some insights kind of behind the making of various programs.
I do love that accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
well, and hers is a little bit...
But that's New Zealand. That's not Australia, right?
Right. Well, and hers also, you could tell that she'd had some American at that early stage and also a little bit of Britain at that early stage. But it's pretty New Zealand. But I'm a sucker for any of those accents. New Zealand, Australia, England. I just love those accents.
Now, her piece of advice that she would give somebody is do one thing at a time. And I have been trying so hard with one of my daughters, Mackenzie, to do one thing at a time because she's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, I'm going to make this really simple. Go put on your coat. But, no, just go put on your coat. See, do one thing at a time. She's exactly right.
See, at our house, it's called Eat the Elephant.
What's that?
How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So when my kids start getting overwhelmed, I just look at them and go, eat the elephant.
I love it. You can follow us on Twitter at Fancounters Live. We're also on our private Facebook group, which is Sharpie Nation, or you can join our regular group, which is just facebook.com/Fancounters. And lastly, if you want to get in touch with us, you can.
Email us at hello@fancounters.com.
We've got another great guest next week, so don't miss it. It's another producer and actor. He's worked with Matthew McConaughey. You're not going to be disappointed in the stories this guy tells.
And you want to learn something new about Nick.
Yeah.
So be here next week.
Okay, we'll tell you all about it next week on Fancounters.
We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
This was a podcast from the PodFix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.